I'm called Tembeng Eli-Anne. I am the founder of Hope for a Better Tomorrow. I am a 2020 Women Deliver Young Leader, and I'm a resident in Cameroon. Growing up as a kid, a lot of things happened to me. I just got to know about them, but at my adolescent age, I was raped a couple of times, and when I finally decided to open up about my incident, the first response I got from family was, if you do not like it, you would have spoken about it. And my question was, how can a 6-year-old child love sex to the extent that they are able to keep quiet and conceal it? With that, coming up to 2018, where we founded HOBET, we came to discover that a lot of people out there too are suffering from gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence and rape. With a number of cases that happened around my community in 2018, 2019, and 2020, the method in which the media received this information caused a lot of controversies because we keep playing the victim blame, like, why were you at this place at this time? Why were you dressed in this manner? Which those were not the things we are supposed to be concentrating on. Also, a lot of information is being given out there about the survivors. Why we hear nothing about the perpetrators? We will hear the person was raped at this point, the person was dressed like this, and at times we post the pictures of the people. And the most aching thing is you post a picture of a 3-year-old child that was raped and her intestines are coming out, but you hear nothing about the perpetrator. It's then that 2020 we came up with this idea that we need to bring survivors together to encourage them to know that they are not alone. They have people by them to support them. And also we saw the need that those out there who send out the information is the media. Now, how do we incorporate the media? We need to tell the media, or we need to bring people in to help the media pass the message across or ethically report cases of gender-based violence. That is why we came up with a collaborative method, because just one person cannot do this. The survivors alone cannot do this. The media houses cannot do it. We decided to collaborate to come up with best approaches where we reduce sexual gender-based violence in our community. That is why we are having a collaborative approach in reducing sexual gender-based violence in our community, and why we are here today.
I'm Madame Limungaluma, the Divisional Delegate for Women's Empowerment and the Family for FACO Division. This project, carried out by Hope for a Better Tomorrow, is very laudable, and it is aimed at clearing sexual gender-based violence by educating the media so that they should be responsible in their reporting, and also by helping the victim to speak out, so that consequently they will not undergo the same situation. So it's a very laudable initiative, and it is very commendable. We really appreciate what HOBET is doing. HOBET is an active member of the FACO Gender-Based Violence Forum. In fact, they are very active, and their activities have helped a lot within the milieu of FACO. And I know it's beyond, but I'm talking about FACO.
My name is Nakinti Besumbu Nofuru. I am the founder and CEO of Rescue Women Cameroon. Yesterday I was here to meet with survivors, of whom I'm a part, because I am a survivor as well. And I am a storyteller, so I came to teach the survivors all the techniques and skills they need in telling their story. So I was basically talking to them about the power of storytelling, how they can use their voices to fight gender-based violence. They can tell their stories either publicly or privately, depending on how comfortable they feel or what they think is the best method for them to use to tell their story. So after that, I had to talk to the survivors on understanding GBV. They need an understanding of what gender-based violence is before they can be able to understand what they are going through and the implications of what they are going through in order for them to be able to fight for themselves and fight for the community. I had another session with the journalists, and this was basically to make them think out of the box on how, as media professionals, they can strengthen efforts to fight GBV in their communities, because it takes a lot of misunderstanding about the concepts of GBV, and so usually reporting is not that perfect. So we want them to use the right terminologies, we want them to use the right techniques, we want them to report fairly and to respect all the ethics of reporting cases of GBV. That's what I did with the journalists yesterday.
Blessing Serna, National Coordinator for LUCMEF Cameroon Office, and we are here to deliver a training on the importance of psychosocial support in SGBV survivors. And so we just had to lay a foundation on, by the way, what is GBV, was SGBV, and the relationship between SGBV and the psychology, and why it's important to help survivors heal. And we got to understand that if people don't heal, there's a chain of violence that continues in the society, because when you don't heal, it's possible that you become a perpetrator as well. And the objective of this is to actually change survivors into agents of change. So we are here to help them understand, help them heal, and help them see how they can also help the community, other victims in the community become survivors, and how they can have positive impact on their community.
I'm Dr. Kungong Rubenchia. I'm a medical doctor by profession. I'm the Programs Director of Organization for Health and Sustainable Development, and I work on gender-based violence, sexual and reproductive health and rights, maternal newborn child and adolescent health. I gave a presentation on clinical management of sexual gender-based violence survivors. In this presentation, I talked about the approach that survivors of this practice need to adopt, and the very first approach was about survivors seeking clinical help, because through the clinical care that they will obtain at the health facility, a medical report will be developed, and it's this medical report which will facilitate survivors to file a complaint, or will help the lawmakers and the court to decide if a rape case has been done. Through this presentation also, we talked about evidence. We talked about a survivor-centered approach to GBV, to sexual gender-based violence. And this survivor-centered approach, we're talking about the confidentiality, that we need to respect each survivor's information to be confidential. We need to respect the survivor's wish. We need to be non-judgmental about the survivors, and also we made mention of the fact that medical personnel are not qualified to give and to conclude that a rape case has occurred, because rape is a legal proceeding and only the court decides if a rape case has occurred. All the medical personnel does is to record the information, collect evidence that can be used in court to attest that a rape case has occurred. We concluded by saying that rape is a we concluded by saying that survivors of sexual gender-based violence management needs to be a multifactorial approach involving different experts, ranging from doctors, lab technicians, psychiatrists, gynecologists, and others, including community-based organizations.
I am Sono Josephine. I supervise gender and child protection for the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services. Today we've had a session on mainstreaming gender-based violence, or sexual and gender-based violence, in programming and in reporting by media professionals. And we've also had some sessions with survivors of gender-based violence, But on the first part, we've talked about how can media professionals mainstream SGBV from within their programs and within the reports that they carry out. And the first thing that we have seen is the gaps that are there in the different reports that media houses or reporters carry, and we've had some time to drill and to enhance the skills and the knowledge of media practitioners who are now aware of the different gaps that are there, and they are now aware of what they can do to improve on the reporting or on the programming that they do. The one key thing is where media houses do not design programs, they do not know what they are looking out for, and they do not know what their reporting has to target, then there is that gap. That's why a lot of women and girls issues are not given the adequate reports, or they are not reported at all. Away from that, we've talked with survivors of gender-based violence, and these survivors are some of the people who have lived their experiences, and we have come to drill them to see how can they document and report the experiences that they have, or the experiences of other people around them. And so the skills that we've enhanced in them is one skill, documenting and reporting, and especially when it comes to the aspect of case management. And in drilling them, we've had to go through the processes that are involved in ensuring that a survivor has a plethora of services around them, and how confidentiality, informed consent, and survivor-centered approaches can be upheld even in these processes, bearing in mind that there is safety, which is also a need for survivors.
My name is Mba Scholastic Ajek. I'm from Bamenda. I'm a survivor. Actually, I've learned so many things, like the various types of gender-based violence and how to manage a case when I meet one. Actually, we learned so many things. For example, how to manage a case, the various steps to use if in case you meet somebody that has been raped. You know the various people to meet, what to do in order to manage a case. So, and also yesterday, it was a discussion session where we also heard about other people's stories and how they are coping.
My name is Regina Nyache. I am a journalist. Well, to begin with, I'll first of all say I'm grateful to HOBET for this great opportunity. While as a journalist, we've been having a lot of misconceptions writing stories when it comes to gender-based violence, especially sexual gender-based violence to be precise. We've always been focused on victimizing the survivors rather than showing forth the perpetrators. So due to this two-day seminar organized by HOBET here at Lady L's Hotel here in Limbe, Southwest region of the country, I was opportune to meet one-on-one with some of the organizers, and we were taught on how to report cases concerning sexual gender-based violence. We also were taught on how to bring them forward, how to question them, how to use the do's and don'ts, the terms to use when questioning them. We're also taught on the use of the word share, tell, when it comes to them telling us their stories, sharing their stories with the public. We're also taught on how to bring forth the perpetrators and to comfort the survivors.
I'm called Embesilo Emase, and I'm a journalist for the Dawn newspaper. I've learned a lot in this two-day seminar. First of all, we've learned that they are not victims, or people who have been victimized are not victims, but they are called survivors. Even if you are being victimized the same day or the day after, you are called a survivor. I also learned that it is not good to, while reporting, it is not good to identify your survivor by their name, by maybe where they stay, maybe the place or anything. That can also help, that can also bring stigma to them, because everybody around their community or anybody around their community who knows their name or maybe their parents' name might say, okay, this is the child that has been victimized, or this is the child that has had this that has gone through this terrible act, and it's going to furthermore traumatize the child. I also learned that while reporting, it is very, very essential to bring in laws that speak against this act of violence, and also that we should also bring together international laws that really support the eradication of gender-based violence in our society, because this gives us a bigger ground, and also it gives us a bigger backing, and also it's very specific.
My name's Fokwate Makamsu, and I'm a survivor and a proud one at that. So far, I'd learned it's good to be open, like telling your story, and I learn about storytelling, that is being open and like freeing up your mind, like saying what is actually disturbing you. So at least let the community know and learn from your experience.
Honoring Chang is my name. The Hope for a Better Tomorrow, that's HOBET, has organized a 2-day seminar, and they trained us. I was there in the capacity of a survivor, and we were learning so much. We have been learning, and today we will still learn about what sexual gender-based violence is, and trying to change the rhetorics. We are here as survivors. We are also learning coping mechanisms, how it's important to trust one another, what to do when you find yourself in a situation that you've been violated upon, how to move on, and above everything, learning to trust each other in this particular network. Because the truth is that if we do not go out there and represent ourselves in our communities as survivors, then without our stories, people will not be able to come out of their shell. So we are here like the voice of the community. We are here because we want to go back and make changes in our community. Why not positive changes? And we are also here because we want our voices to be heard to the loudest.
The key actors first, we have the survivors themselves, where we are encouraging them to speak out and speak boldly. We also have media persons that we are training them on ethical documenting and reporting of cases of sexual gender-based violence. And we will not forget the role of our facilitators play in this, because there are experts in the field. We have to choose people that are best in the field of communication and people that are good in the field of gender activism. And also, we loved bringing people who have experienced it. So most of our facilitators are those that either are survivors of this or have been working around this field. And we could not do this without bringing in a doctor or a need to talk about the health implications or how health is related to this. And also psychosocial support to help counsel the survivors, have one-on-one session with them.
Interactions were great, especially with the survivors, who all have their stories. And listening to my own story, they were able to come out and tell their own stories. I have listened to some of them privately, had private sessions with some of them, as well as public sessions during the presentations, and it's been overwhelming. These young girls, these women are going through a lot, either in intimate partner violence or rape or sexual violence, name it. They are truly survivors, and they need a lot of time to heal.
The experience were very great. I enjoyed myself and I was impacted, and I learned so many things. I've been able to manage my situation, and I have experience on how to tell others how to also cope with theirs in case I meet anybody that was genderly violated.
Okay, yesterday we had a clinical session. We had a talk with Madam Nufura, and later on in the evening we got the fire the campfire where we had to share our various experiences, like what happened to us.
Happy to say that we actually had the right participants in the hall, people that actually have one story or the other and are ready to see how they could get out of it and are ready to see how they can impact the community. So I believe that the message they have understood will help them to identify cases of gender-based violence, because one of the problems we have is that people don't even know sometimes they are going through gender-based violence. So if they identify it, they can report it and they can seek assistance. Because so that is actually what we are looking at. This, I'm sure that these people are going to be able to report cases on gender-based violence, and from there service providers can see what support they can actually offer them.
The 2 days was wonderful. It was more than I expected, because this is something I sat and we're like, we just need to bring together 3 or 5 survivors for a start. But I'm happy we are able to bring about 15 and more survivors. And from the feedback and one-on-one I've had with them, it's an event that has changed their lives. It's changing their lives, and it's already doing a lot for them. And the media persons, this was very timely because they needed it. Coupled with the situation we are in our country now, the unrest, we have gender-based violence, which is in relation to the conflict, and also the way the media has been reporting cases. This is a big boost to us. Because during the opening of the session yesterday, the divisional delegate of Women Empowerment and the Family was very impressed and saying that from the reports we've been giving to them and from every information we've given to them, they are using us now like a yardstick. And they promised us that in few days to come or few months to come, they will be working on something similar, but particularly for the media.
Through this project, participants were able to freely intervene and to ask questions about the challenges that some of them have faced going to hospitals and seeking care from other healthcare professionals. And also, some didn't understand clearly why rape was not considered to be, why medical doctors were not equipped to conclude that a rape case had occurred. So the participation was really engaging, and the survivors and the participants were really motivating, and they were really asking questions and interacting throughout the workshop.
I'm happy because it was not a very large hall, and it's very dynamic. When a hall is not very large, it's very dynamic. We were able to hear everybody's voice, and it was just exceptionally beautiful.
It's going to impact them because this is a change mission. And because it's a change mission, we tell them to use their voices, to use their stories to change their communities. We cannot continue to condone rape, hide the perpetrator, because that is one of the reasons why rape has not stopped. So we tell them to go back to their community, find a comfortable position where they can tell their story, publicly or privately, tell the world about what is going on to fight rape and sexual and gender-based violence in their communities. And so they have learned all of those skills. They have understood the concepts of GBV, learned the skill of storytelling. They can fight without necessarily telling their own stories. They can fight by just telling stories. After all, storytelling is storytelling. It must not be storytelling about GBV. It can be storytelling about something else or somebody else's experience. So they needed those skills in order to function properly.
I plan to take this information back to my community, educating the girl child, educating parents on how to take care of their children, educating victims on how to manage such situations if they find themselves in.
The plan that is my way forward with this information is that I will also go back at my home base. I will go back there and educate my fellow colleagues on how to go about it. And when I'm faced with such situations, I will definitely know how to go about it.
As a journalist, I plan to inculcate this knowledge in my writing. They taught us how to write like, how to mainstream gender jargons into our reporting. So I'm going to really put that into consideration while reporting.
What I plan to do is to go back to my community where I was born, that is Kumba, then try to educate try to educate the young ones that are coming up about what happens in the society and how to overcome those things.
As HOBET has told us that there is need for a collaborative approach. So we go back knowing that when we need help, when we need the assistance of HOBET, they'll always come in place, they'll always train others, and we together will make the world a better place.
Yes, I want to thank the organizers. It's always an opportunity, it's always a pleasure to be able to carry out our mandate, that's helping prevent gender-based violence in the community as the gender department of LUCMEF. And so they just helped us to do what we love doing. So we really appreciate them for the invite.
I want to especially thank Vianney, that is the person who linked me up with Mrs. Anne. I want to just appreciate him for what he has done, because actually linking me up, I don't know how to say this, but I'm so grateful. And I want to say special thanks to Miss Annie for this great opportunity she has given me, like to meet people, try to free up my mind. At least now I know I'm going back home, I'm fine. And the entire HOBET committee, I just want to thank them for everything they have done for us so far.
My gratitude goes to the donors and to the organizers of this event, HOBET Foundation. Hope for a better tomorrow, that what they are doing is lauded or is laudable, and they can keep doing this. Other organizations can also copy to see how we can together get professionals as well as survivors step up the game in reducing gender-based violence in our communities.
I really want to thank the organizers. They are doing a great job. They are so wonderful. It was really great, and I learned so many things. At least my passion for this has been awakened, so I'm super grateful.
I thank HOBET for bringing up this project. Sexual gender-based violence is really a challenge in our community, and with the ongoing crisis that we face, is bringing up a solution to prevent upfront gender-based violence is really of a great help. So I really appreciate the efforts that HOBET has put in place in handling sexual gender-based violence, and also I appreciate Women Deliver for all their efforts they're doing in combating gender-based violence.
I'm so happy. In fact, on a personal note, as a survivor, I'm much more excited because in 2 days I've met people I've never met before. We have discussed together, we've exchanged our worries, we've strengthened ourselves, we are one another's keeper. And I go back with this. Eli-Anne, I'm so proud of you. HOBET, I'm so grateful. And I know we are the first cohort. I know we will go out there and we will work wonders. But above everything else, I would always say it is good to be in peace. In as much as you have been hurt, in as much as you have gone through what you have gone through, there is a God, and God always answers prayers. He did it for me, and He sure will do it for you.
I say push forward to HOBET. This is a very great initiative because there are so many journalists out there who are to report on maybe gender-based violence, and yet they don't know the right words to use, they don't know the right places to go to, they don't know how to go about it. So they end up victimizing the victim or the survivor instead of helping him, her, or him out.
I will say thank you to HOBET for giving me this opportunity once more. Thank you very much. I am grateful because I have learned a lot and I am willing to impact the society.
This is a wonderful initiative, one which I have not seen, because I love the fact that they added the media aspect into this whole process, because that is where we have the core of the re-victimization of survivors. Because the moment stories of sexual and gender-based violence hit the internet, I think the journalists are more in the position to either glamorize rape or criminalize rape based on what they are supposed to write. And so most often in the internet, they are glamorizing rape by supporting the perpetrator and victimizing, re-victimizing the survivor. And so I think HOBET has taken the best angle to bring in journalists, to train them on the proper way to report cases of GBV, which to me is a very important angle in the fight against sexual and gender-based violence.
I'm very grateful to Women Deliver. I cannot undermine the efforts of UNFPA Cameroon, the Southwest region, and the divisional delegate of Women Empowerment and the Family. I am so grateful for them for seeing to it that they'll make out time, come for trainings and talk to survivors. This training, even though I, as a Women Deliver young leader and a team lead, I could not accomplish this alone. My team has played a wonderful role, and if it's not because of them, we would not have been a success today. So I'm very grateful for them, for my entire team, and I'm grateful for everybody that saw the success of this event, from my donors to the team to my participants. The participants have been very awesome. I'm very grateful, and on behalf of Women Deliver, I would really love to appreciate it because it has been an awesome journey. And I say kudos, stop to rape, let's end gender-based violence in our communities. Because it's not a fight for one person, as we often say. We have a regular hashtag we use. It's not a fight for one person. It's not a fight for two people. It's a collective effort. So we say, stop to rape, rape my fight, our fight.